is part of what's wrong with you. You do too much singing. Today it's time to stop singing and start swinging. You got a new generation of black people who don't care anything whatsoever about art. They don't want to hear you old Uncle Tom handkerchief head talking about the art. No, this is a new generation.
Hi, it's DJ Melody Kane, or as I like to be called, just Melody Kane. Or Melody, if we're friends. International DJ, BBC Radio 1 Extra DJ, and creator of No Cane, No Gain, where fitness and music come together, marry in a beautiful moment of health and well-being and goodness. I feel like this question that we're being asked, obviously a lot more often now because of the recent wave in killings across London. So we're being asked this question a lot and it's being addressed a lot. Does music have an effect on gang culture? Does UK music have an effect on gang culture? And how I answer this question is how I always answer these same subjects, is that there's no one factor that affects behaviour. I just want to start by saying as well that of the, I think it's up to 60 deaths now. Of those 60 murders, only 18 of them are gang related and are within the culture of the ethnicity of Caribbean or African black people. So, and I don't mean to use the word only disrespectfully, one life lost is a life too many, but I just want to put into context that the narrative that we're being fed is that all 60 of these murders are to do with youth and gang culture. Actually, the statistics are that it's 18. As I said again, you know, one life lost is one too many, but I just want to put that into context because what's happening is that we're being now fed this narrative of young people, gang culture. The resources that people from, you know, less privileged background, the resources that people from more deprived backgrounds were enjoying, such as, you know, youth clubs, such as sporting activities, such as extracurricular activities. The budget for all those things has been taken away. You also have, I'm just going to kind of give you the factors that I believe, you know, impact what's going on. You also have people who are much younger in age now having children. So the way that we were parented by our parents, there are now children having children. So the way that the parental relationship between young people these days, as I say, it's children having children, you know, it's hard to know what to do when you're not shown guidance from your peers. So these things all filter down, as does poverty, as does, you know, a mindset. So those, I believe, are two of the factors. Also, you know, we were told that gang culture within London. So, you know, in mass, they moved people out of these beautiful Victorian properties, you know, that were worth hundreds and hundreds of thousands of pounds, shoved them into the outskirts, into these, you know, 30, 40,000 pound shacks, and then sold these properties privately. So there's displacement that's happened as well. There's so many different factors when you put them all together. There's no one ingredient. It's not the music. It's not drill music making young people go out and kill each other. It's not drill music or grime making people become violent with each other. I feel like music plays a role culturally. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean? Like, yeah. Music plays a role culturally, but we're going to look at it and say that, like, dancehall promotes, you know, all men to be promiscuous. Are all Jamaican men always sleeping with multiple women? I mean, but you know what I mean. So, you know, look back in the days of, you know, hip hop. Look back at NWA. You know, this was a way of storytelling their experiences. So what's happened is that the narrative of the storytelling has now changed, and unfortunately, you know, we always have to mention this elephant in the room, but social media is a cause of young people being able to view what they feel is inaccessible to them if they don't go out and commit crime. So, you know, never before when I was younger, you know, I wasn't able to, celebrities were people that were in magazines or newspapers, you know, I wasn't able to see, you know, Cassandra down the road, like she might have her new whatever, her new toy, her new this, her new that. That was my vision. My vision were the people that were around me. You know, I couldn't see like Macy in London with her new chain, you know, so I'm not thinking, okay, Macy's got a chain, why haven't I got a chain? You know, these children are seeing, like young people are seeing like younger and younger and younger. It feels like you have to, like, it feels like the narrative is now by the age of 18 you need to have a chain, a watch, you know, a German car. But there's no one person responsible for that. It's not just the artist, it's not just the artist putting out music that glorifies this. It's people on social media pretending to live a life that they don't live. It's image gang. You know, the same as people on social media who can't stand each other in real life or pretend to be friends for image gang because it looks a certain way. You know, you have all these collectives of people that represent nothing, you know, coming together on social media and almost like hypnotizing people or making people believe that they stand for something. You know, you don't stand for anything. You know what I mean? When I say that, there's certain collectives that just don't mean anything. Like, what do you mean? You just have designer bags and shoes and pout. Like, it's you're not going to be able to change it until generationally the next wave of influence comes in. So it then means that now you need to focus on the next generation, because I don't think, you know, you can't, nothing you say to a 16, 17, 18-year-old, early 20-year-old in this generation of what they've seen is going to change their narrative. It's not going to change the way they feel unless you're offering them other options, okay, but then they're still going to pick up their phone and see people out there with Rolexes and, you know, leased cars that they believe this is real life. But the alternative that they were being shown has been taken away. So, you know, really this is again falls back to politics, which, you know, I always hate to discuss, but so many cuts have been made that have affected people from less advantaged backgrounds. So it's very easy for you to sit in your ivory tower, you know, and say, oh, look at all these, you know, young black people killing themselves, etc., etc. You're totally dismissed from reality, because that's not your reality, you know. And the reality is that we live in a society where class is important. It's not even about race anymore. It's about class, and it's about the way that the system and the government and this country treats working class and less fortunate individuals within it, and the way it comes together to protect the affluent and the wealthy and shields them in a protective bubble where no responsibility needs to be taken for their actions. You know, there's a whole different system depending on what class you're from everything from, you know, the judicial system, everything, you know, to the way things are financed, to the resources that are available to you. You know, there has to be some sort of inclusion, and that's not to say that if you are wealthy and if you've worked hard that you can't enjoy things that are, you know, separate from perhaps people who aren't in a more as fortunate situation as you, but there's this very strange grey area where things need to come together and be more resolute and absolute. And you can't, you know, you've taken everything away from these people and you're expecting them to, you know, behave in a normal manner. You've broken the spirit of the individuals that were, you know, that may have had the mindset previously or 10 years ago or 20 years ago to have the mindset to come together. You've broken their spirit. You've made even existing for them nearly impossible. You know, you've taken away their dignity and made it impossible for them to even feed their families. you've taken the father out of the home and incarcerated him for a crime that somebody from a different walk of society will get a slap on the wrist for. It's not to say that there aren't solutions, but I think simplifying the solutions that people are looking at, it's very easy to say, okay, let's all come together and make a change. And there are people out there that are, you know, working hard, that are mentoring, that are trying to offer something different, but you're never going to be able to discount the factor that class is an issue, and people from certain classes are not and never will be treated the same and are not afforded the same opportunities, and you know, it's a grossly unfair system that we live in. So it's not about people coming together to it's more about how do we maneuver ourselves so we can not only survive but thrive within this unjust system that we're in. There are people that have tried to come together and do X, Y, and Z, and guess what? They get shut down. I think we should take whatever it is that we have. I think we should all get on a plane and go to Wakanda. That's what I think. I think we should literally escape from Babylon and go to Wakanda. Failing that, you know, it all starts from, I guess, grassroots, which there are people out there trying to make a difference. There are people out there trying to help, but it's almost that, you know, you're a lost voice in a mass of voices, because until there's actually the right support for those people trying to make a difference, we're just going to keep having this conversation. Is music to blame? Is music to blame? It's like, okay, all of this is going on over here, okay, all of this madness, and then, okay, let's just focus on the music. Like, don't look over there, don't look over there, don't look at us, you know, taking away your houses, don't look at us, you know, emasculating the male figure within the household. Don't look at us, you know, making it harder and harder for people to even survive. Let's just look over here at the music. This is a tiny part of it, you know. Look at the Teddy Boys and the Rockers back in the day. Do you know what I mean? That was gang culture. You know, look at the whole free love hippie wave where everybody was sleeping with each other unprotected. You know, everything, like, culturally has a time period. So I'm not discounting what's going on, but I'm just saying this is the latest thing for people to focus on, to distract from the bullshit that is actually being caused. And
Which
it's
you feel
deeper than the music.
Okay.
That's the music, if you like, is an effect of everything that's going on. It's not the root cause. You know, the root cause is here, and then the offshoot of that is all these things.
Yeah.
But the music isn't the root cause. If you want to really understand what's going on, let's get to the root cause. The music isn't it. You know, there was something that was put out the other day on Link Up TV, which was just, you know, really offensive in terms of what that individual was saying. In no way, shape or form can you ever condone, you know, what was being said. You're talking about not caring about a mother burying her son and all this. But I feel like that's only being enabled because sometimes it's almost as if the more you focus on something, the more it gives it energy. You know, if nobody focused on that and didn't listen to it and didn't care about it, then it wouldn't have had the response that it's got. You know, it was vile. Love Ramel, by the way. Love Ramel. Such a great human.
Character.
She's a great human. Yeah, she's a great person.
Yeah.
So for her to vocalize that is something that obviously deeply upset her and, you know, disturbed her, because Ramel's a very calm, together individual. So for her to feel the need to express her opinion so personally, it obviously really hurt her. And I can completely understand why. You know, our young people are suffering and our young people are getting killed, and then you have this person coming on there talking about he doesn't care when a young person gets killed, and it's amusing to him that the mother is, you know, crying while she buries her son. In any walk of life, that's not okay. You know, the same as if that's the same way as, you know, how gross and distasteful it would be if there's a tragedy on a mass scale, and then somebody is making a track poking fun at that. Whatever that tragedy may be, it's just poor taste and it's disfile. I don't find music very one-sided now. I have a vast musical knowledge. I enjoy listening for everything, you know, to grime, to some drill, to dancehall. I love dancehall. There's times I'll just switch off and listen to classical music. You know, there's not one type of music that's driving the whole narrative. It's just we're putting the spotlight on this. The UK's producing music. Excuse me. The UK's producing music across all genres. You know, it's not just drill is not the only music coming out of the UK. That's just what people are choosing to focus on. And anybody who's putting out that narrative of extreme violence is short-lived. You know, you're not going to have a long music career if that's your only message to the world, to go out and you know, get revenge and kill people and do whatever you need to do to get yourself material possessions. It literally doesn't mean anything. Like, there's no depth in it. It's short-lived. You're going to have the shortest career. And 2 years ago, everybody was involved in grime. 2 years before that, everybody was involved in funky house. Before that, everybody was involved in garage. You know, we'll be having the conversations when everyone was involved in garage about why is there so many men wearing Prada slip-ons. You know what I mean? Like, I've just seen so many different genres of music come and go. So I'm not saying that this isn't an issue, but what I'm saying is that the more energy we're focusing on it, the bigger you're making it become. So and I'm not saying that we should ignore what's going on, but I'm saying this whole narrative of every conversation I have now is this music making this happen? Is this making it? People are you know, vocalizing the life that they are choosing to live because of the impressions that they've been given by social media and what's around them. What I'm saying is, let's change what's around them and what's going on and give people a different option.
But what are these things that are around them first? Let's identify those things.
Poverty. There's extreme poverty. Okay. There's extreme poverty, and there's a absolute need for materialism. You know, materialism is higher than it's ever been because of social media and because people are showing a tiny snapshot of their whole 24 hours they've had in a day. They're showing you a tiny snapshot of it, and you're believing that that's real life. That's not real life. That's a tiny little snapshot that they've had of that day. That's not the life that they're living. Some people perhaps are living that life, but how they've had to obtain that life, you're going to risk everything just to obtain a life to impress people that you don't care about and don't care about you. There's no longevity in it. Like, there's nothing of substance. It's short-term gain. There's nothing within it. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't mean anything. It literally doesn't mean anything. So the way that we change it is to offer different alternatives to what is going on. You know, why aren't there these clubs that are going on? We used to be out, we used to be at youth club, we used to be playing, we used to, I mean, there's so many different things that could be taking place, but yet, you know, we're enabling a bloody bridge or whatever it is. How much is that ridiculous bridge, garden bridge or whatever bollocks that got scrapped? You know, we're spending how much money on Big Ben, but yet the people from Grenfell are still homeless. There's no priority to the less fortunate members of our society. We don't value them. And that is our government that does that. And that is the way that the system is set up in the UK. And until that changes, which I honestly, in my heart, don't believe it will, the only thing we can do is ride this out and come together in groups ourselves and try and offer an alternative with the resources that we have. You know, the people that are more well off, that are, you know, from our background, from our heritage.
Are those people putting their money where their mouths are, though?
I can't personally comment on that because I don't know. You know, that's not for me to say this person that's wealthy and successful is or isn't doing that. But that's what's needed. That's what's needed.
There are a lot of successful black people.
There's a lot of successful black people in the UK. There is, you know, let's open up the conversation to be able to, you know, get people more involved, you know, to financially set up situations, to, you know, put their money into something that's going to yield back to the community. And there are examples of people that do that. And you know, a lot of people do that quietly. Not everybody that does that has to shout about it. You know, there's something almost that we find a bit repellent when people are really successful and they're shouting about what they're doing to give back. Some people just quietly do that, and who are we to know whether that's going on or not? But if that was happening on a grander scale, then it would enable things to change. The more we focus on violence, the more we focus on pain, the more we focus on displacement, that frequency grows. We need to find solutions and come together and create a frequency of love and understanding, which will then spread.